Hey, good Monday morning. Thanks for joining us on the Kare 11 app, wherever you stream. I'm meteorologist Courtney Aitken alongside meteorologist Dery.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And it feels a lot better than it did only a few hours ago.
So
stark difference.
It was a pretty wild start to the day. I'm sure a lot of folks might have seen this. This happened in my house, where you wake up, you look outside, and the windows are just coated in like water.
Yep.
You're thinking it didn't rain last night, but it just looks like, you know, you feel like you're on the inside of a pop can with all that condensation all over your windows.
Yeah,
what was going on?
I was telling Cece and Jason our Kare 11 backyard renovation into a sauna is going so well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all the moisture in the air. It's like you have, like you said, a drink on a hot day, and all that moisture just condenses right on.
Yeah. So just think of like, your house is like a can of pop where you're creating air conditioning. You know, you think of a can of pop, and then on the outside of that you have air that's cooling, condensing to the dew point. And the difference between today and every other kind of hot and humid day is it was stupid humid this morning. We had dew points that were in the 80s in the Twin Cities, some of the most muggy, most humid air that we have ever felt, and that's saying something.
It is, and that actually happened right around, we can take the graphics, around 3 o'clock in the morning. There it is, 81, and I think you said it was 11 years ago, or no, it was in 2011.
Yeah,
right?
So 15 years ago, that was the last time we had dew points that warm. In fact, well, you can see it's been feeling much nicer. Just in the last couple of hours, we've seen the dew points drop from 80 degrees down into the much more comfortable 70s. But the record high dew point, the highest a dew point has ever gotten in the Twin Cities, 82 degrees. So we were just 1 degree off from an all-time record dew point. That's pretty gross.
It was pretty gross. I mean, like all the condensation on the window. I did have a lot of fun doodling on the window this morning. I did the forecast on the window a couple
Was that
times.
you on the inside of the glass coming in from the south parking lot?
No, that was Audrey.
That was Audrey who did that. Okay,
yeah, that was Audrey, and she accidentally killed a mosquito in the process.
Oh, that poor mosquito.
I know, it was pretty funny. But I mean, like as of what now, like about 9:30, we're down pretty much 10 degrees already when it comes to the dew point. So you are going to feel that difference. I mean, you felt the moisture in the air this morning, almost felt like you had to swim out to your car. Yeah. We have drier air coming in. You can thank the winds for that. They're going to be coming in out of the northwest this afternoon. And if you look to the northwest, that's drier air. Places like North Dakota, you've got those dew points in the mid-50s.
Yeah, and we want to remind everybody too that the dew point is a measure of how much water is in the air. That's different from relative humidity, which depends on temperature and moisture levels, kind of those two things. So you typically see higher levels of relative humidity in the morning because the temperature and dew point are closer together, with lower levels of relative humidity in the afternoon as the temperature and dew point kind of spread apart. So meteorologists like using dew point more because it just is a direct measure of how wet the air is, basically, because at that point, if we cooled our temperature to 73 degrees, we would have condensation. So that's why we call it the dew point. It's the point of condensation. So the higher the dew points, the more muggy it is, and you can see drier dew points out to the west. We should be feeling at least a little bit better over the next couple of days, which is some good news. And you can see how hot it has been. Yesterday in the Twin Cities, we hit 99 degrees, 1 degree away from a record high for yesterday.
Right, yeah.
That was pretty cool. And by the way, we haven't hit 100 since
2022.
So it's been a while, and you can see triple digits out to the west. So it's still going to be pretty hot the next couple of days. And you look at how hot it was yesterday, 99, which, by the way, hottest day of the year so far at MSP. Good for us. The record high for that day is just 100 degrees. I mean, I say just 100 degrees. It happened twice on that day.
Yeah, we were right in the neighborhood. We didn't hit it, but gosh, we were close, and it was humid yesterday too.
And one thing that's interesting too is because it's so humid today, because it was so humid yesterday, it takes more energy to warm us up, because you think of, water, you have to add a lot more energy in order to change the temperature, so think of boiling a pot of water, how much energy that takes versus heating up a same piece of air that hot, 212 degrees. So it takes a lot more energy to heat up water than it does air. So whenever we have very muggy days, very humid days like today, the temperature doesn't get quite as hot. That's why, you see temps in the desert Southwest routinely get into the triple digits. Well, they don't have any moisture.
It's dry air, so it's
dry
really easy to heat up. So
yeah, that's right.
With us, it's a little bit harder because the air is moist. Lows this morning were not very low. They were pretty warm. We had low 80s in the Twin Cities, and we were looking at this data a few minutes ago. Around 6 a.m., we had feels like temperatures, so our heat index 95 at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. That was wild.
That was wild. And in fact, it was closer to 100 degrees at about midnight last night.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a calculation. So did it actually feel like 99 degrees at 1 o'clock in the morning?
I promise you it did, because
you did?
I actually...
you were out and about.
I was out and about because I usually wait until, when I do the early morning, I wait until I get home to walk the dog. But I had a little bit of extra time. Mostly because I knew how humid it was going to be. So I was like, I don't want to put a bunch of effort into my hair, because I know I'm going to be outside. So we're gonna go halfway on that for today, and we're going to spend some more time with the dog. So I took him out around 1 a.m. and I was like, oh my Lord, it is a hot hair dryer, hot, wet hair dryer outside.
It's air you can wear, hair you can't wear.
That's absolutely correct.
There you go.
Yes, exactly. We also had some storms this morning. Certainly not for us, but we had some strong storms rolling through the Arrowhead. They did have a severe thunderstorm watch, which expired right on time at 9 a.m. There were at one point 3 different severe thunderstorm warnings around Ely and around Grand Marais. They were producing some smaller hail, I'd say pocket change size, a little bit larger. Some really strong winds, though, with those storms. And of course, you have the other threats like lightning, and there were some heavy downpours. But that's the one aspect that we do like to see, because we know that we need the rain in that neck of the woods, but that rain will certainly steer clear of us here in the Twin Cities for today. But here's a quick backup of the radar. You can see about 3 hours ago, they were moving out of the Arrowhead. They moved over the lake, and now they're kind of impacting Wisconsin. But all quiet. We should see more sun here into our afternoon. 90s. Again.
90s again. I can't remember what our tally is so far this year. We got to be pretty close to our average number of 90-degree days, which is about a dozen. I think 12 or 13 is our average number of days hitting 90 degrees or warmer in the Twin Cities. We're probably pretty close to that, and we'll still get to 90 degrees again today. Another chance for the next couple of days. So the heat's not going anywhere, but the humidity, as you mentioned before, is going to be dropping, so it's not going to feel as sultry. It just kind of is typical summertime heat. And we had our weather impact alert yesterday. We do not have that today because it's just not going to get as hot. The feels like temperature is going to probably stay just shy of 100 degrees, even though we were at 99 earlier this morning, which is pretty ridiculous. But still, it feels a little bit nicer outside. And of course, most folks are out and about at work and stuff like that. We still have our heat advisory, which remains in effect from the Twin Cities southward. That continues until 8 p.m. tonight with the heat index 95 degrees or warmer, and the extreme heat warning, that's the more dangerous stuff. One county, I think that's Houston County in southeast Minnesota, La Crosse points southward, heat index up to 110 degrees.
Yeah, that's kind of what we had yesterday, and that was rough for sure. But the heat advisory, I've been saying this morning, is it's a good downgrade. We were downgraded from a warning to an advisory, and that means that we're moving in the right direction. It is still hot. It is, of course, still above normal, and you're gonna sweat if you're outside, but it's not gonna be like it was yesterday. And the winds are gonna play a part in this. They're light as of late morning, usually for most spots a little bit less than 10 miles per hour, but the direction is important because they're coming out of the northwest. That's a drier air mass, so we'll continue to bring in that drier air through the afternoon. I've been looking at the models throughout the morning, and most of them are in agreement that the windiest time will be right around lunch and shortly thereafter, and then we'll see those winds start to taper a little bit closer to nightfall. But wind gusts easily up to 20, 25 miles per hour, bringing in that dry air and helping to drop those dew points.
Another thing that you're probably noticing is that haze on the horizon. We do have some wildfire smoke that will be with us over the next couple of days. However, this is not smoke coming from the Boundary Waters or the Quetico or northwestern Ontario. The smoke that we're seeing in the sky is actually coming from wildfires burning in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Oregon. There are several large wildfires that are burning in Oregon, and our weather pattern hasn't changed very much over the last couple of days, so the steering winds are allowing to push that smoke from Oregon into over the Rockies and into the upper Midwest. So we're starting to see some of that drift down into the surface. We have moderate air quality currently, and that's what's forecast over the next couple of days. But overall, we do not anticipate smoke to be a big issue, but it will continue to be in our skies. You're probably still going to see those brighter orange and reddish sunrises and sunsets as that sun shines through that hazy smoke. And we probably are not going to see that crystal clear blue sky that we saw earlier this year for a while, at least until those fires change, or at least until we get a more sizable weather pattern, which doesn't look like it'll be in the forecast. We don't expect a whole lot of major changes in the forecast going ahead. It's still going to be pretty hot. We're still going to see that haze in the sky. This is our near surface smoke forecast model, and you can see at least over the next couple of days, not a ton of change.
It actually shows a little bit less than it did earlier today.
That's
earlier today it showed a lot more of the haze, especially down towards Jackson, Marshall, Laverne, even Wilmer showed them getting a good bit of haze, but this new model run has kind of pulled back on that, so that's good news. Like you said, haze won't play a huge role in the forecast, but it'll still be there, so our air quality likely staying moderate over the next couple of days.
It's smoke that's kind of dispersed in the atmosphere more. That's different from those wildfires that are, basically in our backyard up over the Boundary Waters. Is that smoke was so close it didn't have a chance to kind of fully disperse in the air, versus the smoke that's from, the Pacific Northwest has a chance to kind of again, mix out a little bit. So the air quality is not so bad. Probably not even smelling it, but certainly seeing it over the next few days. These are forecast lows for tonight. Again, earlier this morning, we only dropped to 81. Tonight, we drop into the upper 60s to lower 70s, feeling a little nicer, feeling a little less soupy as you wake up for your Tuesday morning.
Certainly. Yeah, I think we're still a little bit on the warm side with those overnight lows, but after all, it is late July, so this is certainly not out of the norm. You'll still have a little bit of a warm morning, which is, for some folks pleasant. So there's nothing wrong with that. This morning was pretty brutal, and so I think it'll be a welcome change. Also for tomorrow, high temperatures tapering slightly. It's not going to be cool by any means, but it will be cooler than what we had yesterday by a long shot, and even slightly cooler than today. So taking it down into the low 90s here for the Twin Cities, and then a whole lot of 80s outside of the metro. You got 88 for St. Cloud and Brainerd. Still some 90s up in Moorhead. They did hit 100 yesterday, actually.
Yikes. And you can see that fresh air conditioner, that natural air conditioner that is Lake Superior, keeping temperatures cooler along the north and south shores of Lake Superior, including right near the head of the lake. So good news there.
That's looking pretty nice. So temperatures will slowly trend downward as we get through late week. Average high is 83, so we're still a good 9 or 10 degrees above that over the next few days. Thursday, still looking to be our next best chance of some storms. We're keeping an eye on that. Maybe that chance carries over into Friday morning. But like you said, the weather pattern overall is pretty quiet.
Yeah, we are entering that time of year, late July, and especially once we get into the month of August, where the weather is pretty quiet. We tend to see the most sunny days in the month of August, which is hard to believe is just a few days away. What is it, 27 today? 27, 28, 29, 33. So this weekend, we're back in August. How about that?
I didn't even realize it was this weekend.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah, summer just seems to be flying by, and we're beyond the statistical warmest time of the year. Our average high has dropped to 83 degrees. It peaked at 84 degrees, earlier this month. So we're on that slow downward slide.
Slow decline.
But the nicest days of summer are basically in our forecasts. We've been used to the 90-degree days. It still is pretty hot, but not as hot, not as humid. And you can see we just have 1-2 days of potential storms. And it's a pretty quiet weather forecast. So these are the days that we enjoy spending time outside. Air quality is good, a little toasty, a little hazy, but otherwise pretty picturesque summer weather's in the forecast.
For sure. And am I remembering correctly that August is the least windy month of the year, too?
Yeah, least windy and sunniest. So we have that to look forward to as well. Again, best days of summer. I had another Boundary Waters trip planned for earlier in August. Have to pivot, but we'll still be spending quite a bit of time outside, and we hope that you do as well.
Absolutely.
That's your weather forecast. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more news and more weather coming up.